Hey everyone, it's DeagleBeagle, and today we're going to go over the usage statistics from February since it's in early March 2023. And for Series 2, if you basically just Google Smogon usage statistics, you'll see all of this. You'll click on it here. You'll click on the first link, and then you go to the month and year, and then you go to, what was it again? Yeah, down here, Generation 9 VGC 2023 Series 2 1500, 1630, and 1760. Now, I believe, I could be wrong, I believe 1500 is not an average, and it goes from the lowest rating of like 1,000 to like 1500, and then I think 1630 is in between 1500 and 1630, and then 1760 I believe is in between 1630 and 1760, but then also it might even be above that as well. I'm not sure, um, unless these are averages. See, I'm not sure, but I know that 1760 would be like higher ranked players than 1630, and 1630 would be higher than 1500. Okay, it might even explain it somewhere. Let's see if it explains it somewhere. So 16. Okay, here's what it means. 1500 represents what the average player in the metagame sees. Since Showdown's player base is more than just Smogonites, this is consider considerably below what the average person reading this thread sees. 1630, so 1695 for OU. It's, yeah, different for OU, but it represents the standard stats, what the typical competitive player should see and be prepared for. And then the elite stats, what the best of the best in the metagame are using. Yeah, but what does that mean exactly, though? I think it just means what they said, but like, as far as where they get those numbers, or how, I don't know. But anyways, we're gonna just look at it. So this is 1760. So the top players seem to think that Fluttermane's the best, or at least maybe not the best, but like they use it the most. So they probably think it's like the most useful on a large variety of teams. And Iron Bundle, second place. Iron Hands, third place. Yeah, those are really good Pokemon. Great Tusk, Goldango, Amoonguss, Arcanine, Dondozo, Tatsugiri is used a lot, but I imagine that's going to go down since there's all this Palafin. And then Dragonite, Roaring Moon, King Am. Okay, so you can read it for yourself. The Pokemon that I know are going to go up in usage, let's just look at the list first again. Well, Dondozo and Tatsugiri are going to go down because there's a lot of Palafin. Palafin's going to keep going up. Certain things that get countered by Palafin will go down, like perhaps Mouse. Well, Mouse Ape is still used a decent amount, but I was trying it, and I kept losing to Palafin after they would kind of force me to Terra Fire. So, or even if I didn't Terra Fire, Wave Crash just does so much damage. And what else would go down? Anything that's overrated. So, I don't know. The game looks pretty. There doesn't look to be that much that's overrated. Now, Sylveon is good, but I would have thought there would have been more Pokemon above it. Gastrodon's going to go up in usage because of all the Palafin. I think Great Tusk. Well, Garchomp and other ground Pokemon are going to go up in usage because there's more than just Great Tusk. It's overrated in the sense that people think it's like way better than all the other physical ground types, and it's not. I actually think it's really good, but it's like really frail though. Like I personally would probably use Garchomp unless I can almost guarantee that I'm going to go before the opponent, because or even if I go before the opponent, unless I like knock them out before Great Tusk gets knocked out, then it's probably not worth it, and I probably would rather use Garchomp. So Garganacl, it's still good, but there's a lot of covert cloak and stuff. I don't know. I mean, the list looks fine, even though some Pokemon like Iron Jugulus are gonna go up in usage because of Wolfie's team and Marcus's team, and because it's better than people thought it was with Snarl and Booster Energy. For some reason, I didn't think of the Booster Energy with the Snarl, but I was just thinking of using it for Hurricane and didn't like it relying on rain, so I kind of got rid of it. But yeah, Snarl was really good with it. And I did think before of using a Tailwind one, but not like with the Speed Booster Energy, but never like that in combination with Snarl. And a really fast Snarl is useful for lowering their offense before they attack. So that's probably why Wolfie and Marcus used that. So yeah, it was really underrated. I mean, Grimmsnarl is going to go down in usage. It's going to be replaced more and more by Klefki. Stuff that has won tournaments like Baxcalibur and whatever will go up a little bit in usage. But usually, though, out of all these tournaments, in an actual regional, people just use whatever they've been using, and it doesn't seem to affect things that much. But you might see a little bit more like Pelipper or more Baxcalibur since Gavin won that big tournament with it. But Palafin has won a lot of tournaments or done well in a lot of tournaments, but that Pokemon's not that hard to counter if you try to counter it, because all it has for the most part are water moves and a priority move, which you can block with either Gastrodon or anti-priority abilities like Indeedee's ability, Psychic Surge, which brings in Psychic Terrain, or you could use Dazzling or Queenly Majesty or something, and Pokemon like Zarnia would actually be better than they used to be because of all the Palafin and whatnot. But I would probably stick with, if I'm trying to counter Palafin, I would probably use Gastrodon, because you wall all its moves, Wave Crash and Jet Punch, or Indeedee, because it's a higher tier Pokemon in general than like Zarnia or Bruxish or whatever. I think there's only a few Pokemon that get abilities. No, there's only a few abilities that block priority moves. Queenly Majesty, Dazzling, Armor Tail. Yeah, Frigg is definitely going to go up in usage. I was using Frigg and Indeedee on one team, my Hard Trick Room team. So it's just Zarnia, Bruxish, Frigg, Giraffe, and Indeedee. But at least Frigg and Indeedee are great Pokemon overall. Indeedee, though, is typically more useful because it has Follow Me, and Frigg does not have that. Now, what is going to lower in usage? The stuff that was artificially high. I'm trying to remember exactly when Gavin won that tournament, but I would say Dragonite with Terra Blast. It is good, but I don't like it hogging the Terra just for an offensive physical move that could just be intimidated. So if this usage was before, when was it? I think Gavin won OCIC. Uh, OCIC was um yeah. Oh wait, what? That was January? No, was it? It was, yeah, February. Okay, so that's February 17th or 19th. So yeah, mid-February like I was thinking. And Dragonite's probably gonna stay at high usage, but not uh, super high. It is one of the only Pokemon with extreme speed and gets multi-scale or inner focus, but the top three Pokemon, well, the top two to me seem to be Flutter Mane and Iron Hands. I'm not sure about Iron Bundle because Hydro Pump misses a lot, but Iron Hands and Flutter Mane are just really good Pokemon overall. Arcanine's really good too, even though people are trying to counter it a little bit, but it's still really good. And other Pokemon are less consistently good, like Amoonguss if they have Misty Terrain or something. Great Tusk easily gets killed. Iron Bundle, that's why Marcus and Wolfie probably didn't even use Hydro Pump, because Encore's a really good move, and Hydro Pump can miss. Great Tusk is possibly a little bit overrated, even though Ground is a really good move, is a really good typing offensively. But I mean, it's overrated in the sense that maybe it could be, top four usage, but it probably shouldn't be because there's other ground Pokemon that are good too. Like, or at least my issue is maybe not with the Great Tusk usage, but then get like Garchomp and all these other Pokemon should be higher usage. And Goldango, yeah, is really good. That's one of the top probably 5 or so Pokemon. And yeah, Goldango is just hard to counter. Mousehold is one of the top Pokemon because it's great with a few things like Ape, Goldango, and other Pokemon people are realizing now. I'm not a big fan of King Ambit's 4 times weakness, or even any Pokemon's 4 times weakness. Like, I'm even a little bit afraid to use Tyranitar because of that. But I don't know. It's probably still worth using. 4 times weaknesses in general are kind of annoying though. So let's look at the difference between this and the usage of 1630 and 1500. So Flutter Mane about the same usage. So yeah, all of this really doesn't change that much. The only thing that I really noticed changing is a little bit with like Goldango and Arcanine and whatnot. But overall, it's really close to the same. So people seem to agree that Flutter Mane, so this is 1500, Flutter Mane is generally considered to be the best Pokemon, or at least the most used Pokemon. On a lot of teams, you can kind of just, I don't want to say slap it on, but you kind of can. So this looks like, well, Torkoal, I think it's only used so much because, well, it's used for 2 reasons. Mostly for hard Trick Room, but also because people are trying to use it with a support set, but I don't really agree with using it like that because you boost the opponent's photosynthesis also. So you're not necessarily helping your team that much more than others. And wait, in DD Armarouge, I don't think that, oh yeah, that is used a lot, but it's used possibly more in lower tier players. So if anything, maybe that means that they use it because like they just think it's a really good combo and they aren't necessarily as competitive as the other players who know that people can easily counter in DD Armarouge if they try, because a lot of new players, they'll just keep using stuff over and over again, even if they lose a lot, um, because they figure, oh, if I win half of the time, then that's good enough. But it may not be good enough. If you're trying to win a whole tournament, you probably want to win like I don't know, 80-90% of the time or more, depending on who you battle. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying Indeedee Armor isn't great, but if people are trying to counter stuff like that, they can easily counter it. So I guess you could kind of say that for anything though. But like, I wouldn't use one of the most common. Well, maybe I would, because I did win a tournament with Indeedee Armor, but normally I wouldn't use the most common things. It's just the thing with Indeedee Armor is like you're limited in how many different options you can use for hard trickery, and Indeedee Armor is just good versus certain teams that don't counter it. If people actually countered it, like if more people countered it, then it wouldn't be that good. But there's not enough people trying to counter it. There are a decent amount of people trying to counter it, but it might still be good enough to use at a regional. So I'm not saying it's bad. It's still used by the top players like a lot. See, it's like 16th and 17th. But let's mostly just ignore the other ones, because what matters most, I think, is looking at what the top players use, because it's more probably accurate to what is actually good and what's not. So seems like almost every Pokemon that is below, let's just see, a cutoff point. I don't know. It's hard to have it an exact cutoff point, but I'm actually surprised that a Rangaroo is used that much, because it's not really a good Pokemon. Farigiraf Giraffe should be way above a Rangaroo. So Rangaroo, yeah, is really overrated. Even though it has high potential at Torkoal or whatever, it's just, I'm surprised it's that high. Because I like never see it. And Corviknight is not a good Pokemon. I don't care how many tournaments Alberto uses it in, it's never going to be a good Pokemon. It's just not really that great at anything in particular, besides maybe slightly like slowing Arcanine down by intimidating it, but it's like that's not a good enough niche. Salamence is going to go up in usage because it's a good intimidator, besides just having Arcanine, and you can actually one-shot the freaking whatchamacallit, the Great Tusk through the sash with it. But it missing with Dual Wing Beat really sucks. I wish they made it like 75 power but hit like 100% of the time. And then what else can we look at? Ceruledge will go up because it's pretty good with Terra Steel or something. I don't know, but this tier list is not accurate. I should show you my tier